Good afternoon. Oh my goodness, the microphones work. Thank you. And I do want to assure you all that nobody's going crazy. It is Tuesday, not Wednesday. And the programs are correct, not this. I did this a while back, so it was a bit confusing. So welcome to, this is the first of a couple of remembrance services that we will be having. And the dates of who we are honoring for this service are from December 2021 through March 2022. So it's a while back, obviously, over a year ago. And I'll tell you the story of why. Last January, when I did a remembrance service, thinking I was including all the people that we missed, and that was from August to beginning of December, there were several of you here waiting to see your spouse or loved one on the screen, and they didn't show up. And so after the service, a few came up to me and said, "So am I missing something? Why isn't it on there?" And that's when I realized that I missed 39 names from during the pandemic. And so I'm trying to catch up from that time. And part of the reason that happened is because last August, we did have 2 different services in assisted living. Most of the people that we lost lived there. So we had one for the 2nd floor and one for the 3rd floor. So many of these people were honored then, but none of you could go. No family could go. It was just on those floors. So this is the first group of 19, and we'll see how fast we get through them, because everyone needs to be honored. And then sometime, hopefully before summer, I'll do the next group of 19. And then hopefully we won't have another 19 of the recent ones to do. It'll be a little shorter, and I'll get into a rhythm to keep it going. So I want you to recognize when we get further into this, there was some of you who were here early enough to see Jean Fisken, who's the first person, and the words next to it. And so the way this works is that you will see a person's picture, and then you'll see the obituary that was probably on the memorial board. There's a few of these, we had none, and I did some research and found some, and put them up there. And so feel free to read what you want to on the screen, even while we try to share some words. And what we hope to do, it is being recorded so that there will be a link on YouTube in case you have family members or friends who may want to see this. And the way it happens on YouTube, when you open it up, you don't have to go through all 19 names. The nice thing is you can just move right across until you find the person that you are most interested in. And so hopefully it'll work that way. The other thing that we do, that is a ritual that we have done since I came here, is that we use colored beads to honor each person. And so, especially if any of you are related to a spouse up here, I'm going to invite you to think about the color. And if you're not, but you're friends, the same will be for that too. And those beads will go into the tall little vase there, which I just emptied. And where these are kept permanently, when that fills up, is in the meditation room. In the meditation room, there's a much larger vessel that has beads in it, and that's where they've been collecting ever since we started doing this tradition. But it is just a reminder of the people that we've said hello to and goodbye to, and that each person is named and we're named and honored. I also want to thank my helpers. First of all, Adonna and Sharon for playing that beautiful music. And they'll do the postlude too. It's always amazing, and especially what Sharon has figured out how to do, staying safe for the pandemic, to be able to play her wind instrument outside of the doors and you can still all hear her. Thank you for that. And then Sharon also will be helping with the beads. And Erica Campbell and Marco Sada are the ones who have ushered, and we'll be helping when we get to do a little pop-up of a few words about each person. I will start with this poem. A not dying, an unlived life. May I, may you, may we not die unlived lives. May none of us live in fear of falling or of catching fire. May we choose to inhabit our days, to allow our living to open us, to make us less afraid, more accessible, to loosen our hearts until they become wings, torches, promises. May each of us choose to live so that that which comes to us as seed goes on to the next as blossom. And that which comes to us as blossom goes on as fruit. Jean Fisken was born October 23rd, 1933. She passed away December 1st, 2021. Is there any family from Jean here or anyone that knew her closely? Elizabeth. Do you have a word you can say that would describe Jean, or a couple of words?
Faithful.
Here, there's a microphone right behind you.
Faithful, loyal, accomplished, sweet, generous.
And you knew her in Monday Market? Yeah, she did that for a lot of years.
She was a wonderful bridge player.
Oh, wonderful. Yay,
Wonderful,
Charlotte.
smart lady, yeah.
Yeah, she loved bridge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Colonel Stark and Sally,
Where?
right here.
Carolyn,
This is
Royal,
Oh, Marco, right back there. Yeah.
Royal, a great hostess, very considerate of everyone, and the supported living, I was able to be with her quite a bit, so I enjoyed that.
Lori.
I spent
quite a bit of time with Jean in assisted living as well, and she just exuded elegance. She was very eloquent, and even in assisted living still had that hostess attitude, always welcoming and inviting you to her apartment or her table.
Thank you. So what color would be the perfect color to represent Jean? For a colored bead.
It looks like she liked blue.
Well, that's what she was wearing. Thank you, Betty. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mo Swanson. Okay, Mo, she was one of the first people who we did get to have a memorial for after the pandemic in this space, and it was full. So I would just love some pop-up words you can say out loud that remind you of Mo.
Friendly.
Friendly?
Happy.
Yes.
Chic,
Chic.
a skier, a skier.
A skier.
Hiker.
A hiker. A mountain climber. Anyone else? One of the things that surprised me about Mo, when we had the service for her, and this is what I like to do when we have services for residents, is find out who's in the room, who's family, who were neighbors, who were friends. There was an entire section over here that was the hiking club that went with her. And she was like one or two of the only women on the hiking club. And she kept up with all of them. So what color would you like to pick for Mo?
Lavender.
Lavender. I think there's a purple in there, a lavender somewhere. That's kind of cobalt, but you may not find the lavender.
That's close. You got the pink.
Pink works. Sure. Thank you. There's a beautiful lady. Anybody have a story about Rae?
A word.
A word. Pardon me?
Sass.
Sass. Yes. Sass.
It says up there she was wickedly smart. I always thought of her as a bit wicked.
That line I want to read out loud. She was energetic, creative, wickedly smart, and sometimes acerbic, but always unwavering in support of arts and culture.
I was just going to say sassy.
Sassy. Perfect.
Sassy with an S.
Yes. Her memorial was at Mohi. So it did get to happen. Some of you may have been able to go. She was very involved with Mohi. She was also a fellow at Harvard. And she authored nearly 100 articles, mostly on public art. She was a very accomplished woman before she came to us. Yes, Mary?
Every morning I get a word in my email, and it's because she sent it to me.
Every morning she would send you a word in your
And
email?
I'm still getting them.
And you're still getting them from the other side? And what kind of words are they? That's amazing. What color would we pick for Rae?
Red.
Red. Yeah, I agree. There we go. So I don't know if I pronounced this right or not. Is this Hideko Tada? Hideko Tada. I didn't know her, unfortunately. And she should get one of those awards for a long time of being here. So she lived here for 22 years. And she, even though she was born in Seattle, she was educated in Japan, including during World War II. She was educated there from 1938 to 1956, and then she came back here. Anybody have a story or a word or two about her? Right over there.
Hideko loved the jigsaw puzzles, and we spent many hours visiting over the jigsaw puzzle table, and later on she had to be told to stop and go and pick up her dinner.
Oh, there's some dedication.
Yes.
Or being hooked. Anyone else?
She was always happy. She was so friendly.
Happy and friendly, yeah. And I can tell by this beautiful picture of her. Yeah. So, anybody have a color to pick for her? I know she liked to make rings and pins and jewelry. I don't know if there's something that would represent some of that.
Do you have any that are like a rainbow, several colors?
No, sorry.
This isn't really,
Oh yeah, that's shiny.
but it's not really a bubble.
No, I put those in on purpose. They're more like crystal.
Yeah, it's really lovely too.
Yeah. Ruth Eller. I don't know anybody who didn't know the Ellers that were here when Ruth was here. Yeah. And in our lobby, for those of you especially who are new, there's these beautiful crows in there. And the two of these people purchased that sort of in their remembrance and in their dedication to art. That was her passion. But the other thing, which I didn't know until after she passed, there's so many things I didn't know about people, was that there's a public library in Connecticut because of her. That she was the one who co-founded it. That she was an organizer, she was a leader, we knew that here. Even when she was in assisted living and kept thinking she was going to keep on going, she had plans for organizing the annual summer Horizon House picnic. That didn't get to happen. Any pop-up words about Ruth that stand out to you? Yes, Mary.
She taught a class
She taught a class
in antique jewelry.
in antique jewelry. I would love to have gone to that, yes. She was quite the historian.
Well, I did that also from her time in Connecticut. She spent countless hours volunteering at the school for
Volunteering in Connecticut, Southbury, Connecticut, at a school for severely brain damaged children. And she was a devoted volunteer there, aside from other things she did, like establishing a library. My brother was at that school, so that's another way I remember Ruth.
Wow.
She did that.
That's wonderful. And that's also what I love about Horizon House. You just run into people that you might have known across the world and didn't know they were here. That's great, Nancy. Thank you. How about a color for Ruth?
Green on a multicolored one.
I wish we had a multicolored one. I can't find them anywhere.
Well, I suggested green because of being on the growing edge of life. I think this is a good green one. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
Growing edge of life.
She and Alvin were such a great pair. So did anybody know Thomasina Clarke?
Hands up.
Ellen and Dorleen. Can you tell us anything about her? Because there was no, I found this in the resident directory.
I knew Thomasina down in the swimming pool. She used to do the water aerobics class that I was in. And we had many nice chats while we got dried off and dressed. She was always fine and fun, and I was sorry to hear that she had died.
Pretty friendly.
Thomasina was on the book selection committee for the library. Always well prepared, always knowledgeable, always soft spoken. She was just a jewel. She was just one of those people with whom it was easy to be, who brought kindness wherever she went.
Somebody over there? Way in back. No.
I met Thomasina through the Associated Women's University, and she was always interested in supporting women and women's issues.
Nice. So what color shall we pick for Thomasina? Purple. You're gonna have to dig down to find the purple. And we may be out of them. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. This is kind of between pink and purple.
I had to get purple rocks because they don't make purple beads. I wonder how many of you recognize this beautiful woman. Thank you, I'm glad you do. We didn't get to see her like this very often, or at all, maybe. Is John here? He was going to try to come. Oh, I'm sorry. There. Is John here? He was going to try to be here. He gave me this picture of her. I got to go see him and visit with him. So Liv spent most of her time here fighting a disease that eventually took her. And her family was very devoted to her. But she actually is Norwegian. So John met her on a ship going to Norway as he went to visit his family, and she was on that ship, and she was from Oslo. That's where she was born and where she grew up. And they fell in love almost at first sight, and that was kind of the end of her Norwegian livelihood. They were married for 55 years. Some of the things they love to do that we don't always think of when we think of seeing John as he's walking around, because he's pretty shy, and that is that they love to sail. But they didn't just sail around Puget Sound. They sailed in Scandinavia and in Europe. They sailed up the West Coast all the way through Canada. And best of all, they sailed together with their kids through the Greek islands as she taught the kids school. So she was very devoted to her family, and I just love this picture of her. And the color that I would pick for her is red for Norway. So I know somebody here related to him. And I wonder if anybody, would you have a story you could tell us, Ellen? Let's bring a microphone to you.
Well, as I remember Alan, it's been more than a year now since he's been gone. I find that my memories focus most on sailing. He loved sailing, and not only did he sail around Puget Sound and so forth and so on, but he did a sailing trip from Ireland to Portugal. He also sailed around Vancouver Island. So I think a lot about the sailing, and I hope wherever he is, he has fair winds.
Nice. Yeah. That's beautiful. He was also in charge of our Saturday night movie program. And you got to go sailing too with him, didn't you?
I did, but I never did oceans.
You didn't do oceans. Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't either. So what color would you pick for Al?
Blue.
Blue. Like dark blue, bright blue?
Right.
Bright blue.
Well, maybe, is that bright enough? Yeah, maybe you can't see, but it's blue.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, Jack.
Yeah.
Go ahead, put it down.
I just wanted to say a few words. Danny and I have known Al almost as long as Ellen. We all grew up together in graduate school, and finally wound up in Seattle together, having traversed through various internship programs and study programs. Al was a delightful person, you know, that I trusted as not only a great colleague, a clinician, teacher, but a warm friend who had a diversity of interests in addition to sailing, literature, and always a good storyteller. So our life goes back a long way, and it was a very enjoyable life together. We miss it.
So did he have any influence on you two moving here?
Well, it was inevitable. As soon as we knew that Al and Ellen moved here, we knew we were going to wind up here. That was it, you know.
There you go. That's great. Thank you, Jack. I love those kinds of stories too. Brentnall. Any pop-up words?
A man of many talents.
A man of many talents.
Sense of humor.
Sense of humor.
Compassion.
Compassion.
Service.
Service.
A wonderful smile.
A wonderful smile. I know, isn't that gorgeous there?
And I believe he's the one who told a group of us in the committee meeting that he was going to drive across 3 or 4 states to pick up the woman that he was going to marry. And he said, we will go to a justice of the peace and be married there, because I will not cross a state line with a woman to whom I'm not married.
Oh my, okay, did anybody hear that?
He went all the way to Texas to get his wife.
I thought she was in Florida.
Texas.
Okay, I know that's where she lives now, yeah, yeah.
But in any case, then they had a second wedding that we could attend at the Episcopal Church near here with
Okay.
Very neat guy.
Yes. So that's one of the things I love. Mary knew him at age 6.
Wow.
They used to play together. They were neighbors. He had a whole train set that she really loved, but his mother didn't trust her. So she would knock on the door and she never knew if Mom was going to let her in or not, so she could come and play with Brent and his trains.
They were army brats together.
Yes. And the other thing that's fun is that his first and his last wife lived here at the same time. And Lulu's still here. So Brent had 2 careers. He was a military man at West Point. He was a colonel. After the military, he worked for NASA. He helped Sweden have their first satellite system. He worked on the U.S. Star Wars program. And then he became an Episcopal deacon, where he had the ordination enough not to be the preacher of the church, but to be the one in charge of serving people, bringing baskets of food to people, reaching out to people, bringing communion to people. And even after he survived COVID and 5 cancers, he came to me and he said, okay, there's a reason I'm still alive, and I'm not sure why, but I need to be doing something. And he and Mary started serving communion in assisted living for people up there. Mary wasn't always thrilled. She's Catholic and he was Episcopalian, and so she had to do the work and he did the talking. He was a beautiful man.
He was my neighbor. He was my neighbor, and I called him the Miracle Man.
He is the Miracle Man. 5 cancers and COVID. Yes, Mary?
He wrote the most beautiful prayers for the chapel committee.
Did he?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. Barbara?
He ordered and took care of dozens of coats for Simon's house.
Oh, nice.
Took care of the coats for
Coats for Simon's house.
He was involved with so many things. I mean, it's almost impossible to name them all.
Can't name them all.
I mean, food for children at some little school here in Seattle.
Food for children. Thanksgiving baskets. Yep. He'd collect those. Yeah, he was pretty amazing.
He also made wonderful martinis on Sunday
He wouldn't drink them himself, so he made wonderful martinis on Sunday, Monday, but he wouldn't drink them himself. So you got to enjoy it instead.
Well, but he did make a mean martini, and he did drink them himself.
He did drink them himself. Okay, you saw. That's great. So let's pick, you have a darker blue. Is there any cobalts left in there? I should have put more in there. Okay, yeah, there's a good color for Brent. Okay, here's a character that I absolutely love what she had on her arm. What's next? That was a tattoo emblazoned on her arm when she was 86 years old. How many of you are ready to have a tattoo? Yes, Fran?
I have one.
You already got one. All right.
Mike's Market.
Yeah.
Mo had one of those too.
Who?
Mo. She had a tattoo.
Oh, that's right, she did. Thank you. Yes, she did. So, oh, there's a person over there. Erica.
Anne and I were classmates at Wellesley, and I haven't seen her for many, many years until she moved into Horizon House. It was great to see her again.
Oh my goodness.
She was remarkably talented, particularly, well, so many areas, but photography was, maybe some of you remember seeing her photographs at one of our art shows. The way she manipulated them somehow to come up with beautiful works of art. And she was also an ice skater, maybe says that up there, into many, many years after I would have tried to get on ice skates.
She passed the bronze and silver dance levels on ice. Oh, Jane.
Shortly after, well, they hadn't been here terribly long, I guess, and had a house in Washington Park. And I was called to remodel the kitchen. And one of the things I learned from her early on, she was one of our first environmentalists because she would take all her vegetable scraps and things and whirl them up in her osterizer and then put them out in the garden as her fertilizer. And she spread them, yes. Yeah, and I also learned from her at the time that she was growing vegetables, lettuce amongst the flowers, which I continue to do through my garden here. Because yes, she been harvested along the way. Yeah, it was a great friend too, for many years.
Yeah, she had a 1-acre garden in Shoreline. She was also on the Seattle City Council. How many knew that? Yeah, she was amazing. So what color should we pick for her? Oh, Carolyn?
When I was chair of the art committee, she was the one that made the accession of art, and it was an ironclad piece of work, like a lawyer would have driven up, so that people that wanted to give art, they had to go through all those criteria, and I think it's still used. So she made a landmark to keep our art collection curated so it didn't get too big with the wrong things.
That's great. That's wonderful. So what color should we pick for her? Green? The gardener, that's right. Green the gardener. There we go. So this dear lady made it to 101. And I remember talking to her when she turned 100 and she said that she wasn't thrilled. Any pop-up words for Barbara? Pleasant.
Persistent.
Persistent.
Great smile.
Yes, I love the smile in this picture. This was taken on her 100th birthday.
And enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic? Lovely. Anybody know a color for her? Oh, Jeanette, did you have a story?
Barbara and I used to go to the symphony together, walk to the symphony, and we spent many happy hours there. I also remember how devoted she was to her grandson. She talked about him a lot.
Yeah. I was thinking pink. Is there any more pinks? She wore that color and she had that color in her room.
This is definitely pink.
All right, that's perfect. Shulamit Decktor was definitely a person with her own mind. She chose what she had up there, what dates were up there, although I'll cheat and tell you she died February 3rd, 2022. But she chose how to live her life, how to live her death, is grateful for her friends here and her many friends worldwide. Any words about Shulamit?
She was a mystery.
She was a mystery. Yes.
Very caring.
She was very caring. Exactly.
For those of you who have attended the, oh my God, I'm blanking on the words. The lighting, the
Hanukkah.
Thank you. It's like Hanukkah lighting. So she came to the one that was last December, and one of the things that she brought, because the various Jewish members of our community here, they took turns, and each night somebody would share something, and she brought with her a menorah that she had received. Her parents, it was given to her parents when she was born. And so it said 1941. Oh, she can't correct me now. So anyway, but it was just the whole series of Hanukkah and the personal sharings, and so I think that in a way she was an ardent humanist, but on the other hand she also was connected to her roots, and so that she's managed to kind of capture both of that, and I just appreciated that about her a lot. Thank you.
Especially on Hanukkah, we have several secular Jewish people who will share.
I was privileged to know Shulamit through the Fellowship of Reconciliation, which is, I believe, the oldest ongoing peace justice organization. It's over 100 years old and internationally active. Shulamit was a dedicated peace and justice worker. It was she and Lynn Levine who came up with the idea that we would have a Black Lives Vigil every Friday at noon. And that was maybe 2 years ago. And we still have it every Friday noon at the corner of 9th and Seneca. Shulamit was organized. She worked in social justice, and she also was personally organized. She had her library meticulously alphabetized and appropriately in sections. She had one son, and she and her husband, from whom she had been divorced for many years, had a very congenial, cooperative relationship. He would do shopping and other favors for her, and in general, she lived at peace with other people who, and she said she made a point of finding the people that she differed with, and becoming friends and congenial in her relationship with them.
Thank you, Mary Margaret. So what color shall we pick for Shulamit? Clear?
Purple.
She was anything but clear.
She was anything but clear? So what color did you say over there?
Purple.
We don't have any purples. We're out.
Purple? No huskies?
I know. You'll have to get us some, Lori.
Well, she has red on.
Burgundy.
Burgundy. Those were the faded ones, the frosted ones.
You
marble donations?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Get some more.
Let's make it easier for her.
Now this is as close to purple. Is that?
Yes, that's the burgundy.
Yeah, that's.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
So when Mary Ellen's, I don't know, her family or somebody put her story up on the memorial board, I knew there was more to it than that. So I got to do some research and find out some more about this amazing woman. Including, you know, just the awards that she won. She was an editorial professional for more than 5 decades. And she worked at the U.S. Department of Interior and of Labor and Bureau of Indian Affairs and Bureau of Manpower Administration and Labor Statistics and the Foreign Service for the Department of State. Earlier than that, besides being a small town girl, she worked for the Wenatchee Daily Word and the Washington Post.
What did she do for fun?
Yeah, I don't know. She was very busy. Yeah. So she was also finally recognized in her professional career by the Marquee Who's Who organization and their annual publications, and she was selected for inclusion in Who's Who in America, Who's Who in American Politics, Who's Who in the East, Who's Who in the West, Who's Who in the World, and Who's Who of American Women. And she had kitty cats? Nice.
And she was in the swimming pool a lot.
Yes.
She always checked to be sure I was still swimming.
She was always checking to see if you were still swimming. I used to see her in the swimming pool. And then when kids came along that she hosted, they would be in the swimming pool. So let's try a color for this dear woman.
Something bright.
Something bright. Red. I think that works.
Yeah.
How many of you got to go to the beautiful curated art memorial for Rene? Quite a few. It was pretty impressive, wasn't it? Yeah. Karen, do you have a little story you want to share with us? What's not on here? Mariko, she's right over here on the aisle.
Well, not necessarily a story, but impressions.
Yes.
What's up there really says it. Adding to it, being an immigrant was difficult. He had a very hard time adjusting to the United States. But he did, and so he persevered. He was a really hard worker, and he had a strong sense of responsibility for his family. So what he did was for his family. He was a very private person, and he had a very active interior life, which you've seen in his art. He had an active dream life, and he sketched and painted his dreams.
Wow. Yeah, he was an incredible artist. So what color would you pick for Rene?
Red.
Red.
Let's see what there is.
Red. Nice. How many of you remember Jim Travis? Jim Travis, actually when I first met him, I don't know how he knew I was related to Myrtle Edwards, but he did, and he said, I got to work with your grandfather, and he was the nicest man I ever met. It was, and I kept wanting to hear more about what they did because my grandfather passed away in the 70s. And unfortunately, I lost that opportunity. He never forgot the nicest person he ever met. But he always had a smile when he thought of that. So the other thing I loved, besides that he was Engineer of the Year, which is a much more linear kind of work, even though it's very creative, is that he danced away the 50s playing the saxophone, the clarinet, and the string bass. And with this picture of him, I can totally picture that. Yeah.
He also played the bass in supported living.
He played the bass in supported living?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't know if it's still there, but when Rene, he died one day after Rene. And they were, you know, you wouldn't say geographically, but their rooms were close to each other, and so a lot of what was going on for the one was going on for the other. And there was a caregiver in supported living who used to sing like Frank Sinatra. Maybe some people remember him.
I remember, yes.
And every time Daniel would sing, Jim would play the bass, and somebody had to haul this big thing out, and it was sitting back in the corner on the second floor. And for all I know, it may still be there. I don't know where it is.
He was part of the OK Corral? Yes. Did he play the bass then?
No.
He just sang?
He did for a while.
He did for a while? Ah, nice. He sang in the Vespers choir too? Wow.
I have a question.
Hold on a second, Darlene.
Jim was a part of the philanthropy committee, and he was just such a wonderful member, always so supportive and positive, and just gave us, he just supported the programs so well, so he was just a great committee member.
What was your question, Darlene?
Is he the man who invented the Mars rover?
No. No. That's the guy who just recently passed away. He may still be on the Jim Tillman.
Oh, you're right.
Jim Travis also sang in the, when we'd have hymn sings upstairs, and Lowell Kimball would come up, and they would all get together. The men would just outpower most of the women singing the hymns.
Nice. Anybody think of a color for Jim? Something bright. Nice.
That's good. That's really pretty.
Thank you.
But let's the light shine through.
Bill Stark, the Orchid Man. Carolyn is here. Do you have a story for about Bill? Right, no, Marco, right behind there first, and then.
I think you all knew and heard a lot of stories. We knew each other in high school, which he was very quickly to tell everyone, right? And but we had an interesting life between that and when we got married. But he loved the swimming pool, and he liked being a clown. And then he had you that had been in the water with him. He loved being fun, happy, and he enjoyed living at a Horizon house. And of course the gardens were so wonderful, and he and it would prune when he wasn't supposed to, and he'd do all kinds of things he wasn't supposed to. And I always thought, oh dear, but everyone kind of let him get away with it, which was charming. So he loved living here. And I miss him, but I look at the flowers, and the only thing he would have been upset about is this Christmas that the lights were out, because he and his grandson were the first people that put out the lights in the dining room for Christmas.
That's too bad. Thank you, Carolyn. Anne Marie. Oh, wait a minute, Anne Marie. Somebody just grabbed it.
Bill Stark. Every time I look out on the terrace of B1, I think of Bill and what he contributed to Horizon House, and what a beautiful person he was, and he and Carolyn.
There you go.
Oh, Bill. He was definitely the garden man. And all the flowering baskets outside of the dining room, you can thank Bill for it too. I think the poems that you put in here were very prescient about Bill. And I'd like to just quote a couple of little bits from each of these poems. The first one, may each of us choose to live so that which comes to us as seed goes on to the next as blossom, and that which comes to us as blossom goes on to fruit. And certainly that speaks about Bill. And the other little piece is in the last poem, and that says, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. Bill was quite the birder, and I think that really fits him to a T as well. So both of those, flowers and the birds. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. You got more people, so.
Bill also was a member of a writing group that I was a part of while he was here, and he entertained us wildly with his life stories. We got snippets of them as he read them to us during the writing class, and the thing that I remember most was his coming to me and saying, you can do it too, Anne, just keep at it, you're doing just fine, don't give up. And that meant a great deal to me at the time, because writing my story has been extremely difficult, but he was right there with support and humor. The stories he told about gathering seashells when he was in I don't know if it was the Philippines, but post-World War II when he was still in the Navy, and how he and his buddy created a scuba machine, sort of, so that they could make sure that they could kind of harvest the best shells that they could find. He's just wonderful, wonderful storyteller. And loved him for it.
Thank you. So Carolyn, what color would you like for Bill?
I think green.
Green. Yeah, I kind of was figuring that, but. While she's picking green, oh, the one on the left. This one?
Bill was a very special friend, always very kind to me. I've always felt very close to him. Ever since I moved into Horizon House, we knew each other through church and through here, but he was so warm and kind, and he, of course, as everybody said, he contributed so much to Horizon House, particularly with the gardens that he developed for supported living, which was
Thank you, Jeanette.
not being done before.
Thank you, Jeanette. The Admiral. He wasn't here very long, but he definitely made an impression. And he kind of did that throughout his life.
Power and gentleness.
Pardon me?
Power
and gentleness. Power and gentleness, yes. What other words can we think of? I know, Lori, you got it.
When Dick died, he called...
Hold on a minute, let me give you the mic.
When Dick died, he called me and he said, Lori, I want to help you with what you have to do, and he did.
Any single words or pop-up words about this beautiful man?
Forgiving man. I mean, some of his programs that he brought to us were so uplifting.
Yes. Yeah, he started the cocktail parties. Which I remember about officers in the military, because I'm an officer's brat.
Devoted husband.
Devoted husband, yes. Even though his wife was clear over in Mercer Island and he didn't move her, until we had a memorial here for
You were
her.
back and forth every day.
Every day, very dedicated, yeah. So as a military brat, Lori introduced me to him, and maybe because I was related to, my dad was an officer, I just wasn't intimidated, and I probably should have, because I remember asking him how many times he had moved. And he said, oh, I don't know, maybe 32, and I said, well, I have 35, so I got beat.
I think the word leadership comes to mind. And those of us who've been in the military at any level just couldn't resist calling him sir. And it's just a habit.
Yes.
And he sort of radiated that sense of leadership.
He did. The other thing he did, which is similar to Brent, he had another career outside of the military. Not much, not as many years, but the things that he was able to do in helping at-risk students, and as chairman of the Ethics Resource Center for America, he founded the Voyager Expanded Learning Company. He worked with over 1 million disadvantaged public school children. He started the Peace Trees in Vietnam, which is still a huge organization that's very important to him in restoring Vietnam. And then his daughter, Carlin, is an artist, and Path with Art is one of the things he was also very involved in, and she's actually continuing that organization, which raises money to help young people and other people related to learning art, even though they can't afford it. He also was in Bible study and asked the best questions. He wasn't afraid to admit what he didn't know.
And he flew every airplane the Navy had.
He flew every airplane the Navy had. Is there a dark blue in there? A cobalt? Well, that works. That's ocean blue.
Ocean, that sounds good.
Ocean blue. Yeah. Janet Trask Cox, August 15th, 1941 to March 8th, 2022. And I know Les is here. Do you have a story you can share that's not on the board up there about your beautiful wife?
Well, I can tell you that the obituary that you see there was really kind of written by her. I searched through all of her writings and found so much of this, and she and I each moved to New York separately, New York City separately. She was in journalism, and so she went to work for a company doing that, and I didn't know her in Billings very well. I was in school with her brother, but she and I married, and we were married for a long time and had just a marvelous, marvelous time. And she worked hard at writing in her 40s and 50s and just did a great job. It was just fun.
What color would you pick?
Red.
Red. Any reds left? This place is full of reds and purples. All right. Thank you. This is our last lady. So Rosalie and Larry made an impact in this place. One of the things she was committed to after while he was in assisted living and after he was gone, was finding ways to enhance assisted living in any way she could. Even starting the Friendly Visitors Program. Starting Camarada. How many of you played for Camarada? Yeah, she just, even to the last years of her life, she was still serving other people in one way or another. Anybody have some words about Rosalie? Jeanette?
She was a lovely lady.
She was a lovely lady.
Elegant.
Elegant.
Courage.
Courage.
I'd also say committed.
Committed.
She was one of the first people I met when I moved to Horizon House from the East Coast. We didn't know anybody. And we had one of her nieces was a friend of mine back in New Jersey. So we got acquainted right away. And so I looked her up before I met her in the biography that we had for people who lived here. And it talked about her commitment to ACLU and this activist organization, that activist organization. And it said that she was really a woman who lived out what she believed in. She walked the talk. Is that the right way? She was also wonderful in her commitment to music, particularly avant-garde music. She took me to one concert where I couldn't understand a thing about the music that was being played. But she loved it.
Sam?
It's hard for me to talk about Rosalie without getting emotionally aroused. She was a force of nature, and her impact on me was because of this terribly sad experience that she experienced here with the passing of her husband, Larry, and the conditions under which that occurred. And she really devoted, it seemed to me, the rest of her life really two pursuits: her love of music and continuing to play. She was a super amateur musician. It sounds like amateur only means she didn't make a living at it. No reflection on the scale of her musicianship. But she was determined that what she went through, other people here at Horizon House should not go through. And she was aggressive about it, but always correct, strong, and she recruited me to her set of issues and cause. We worked together for a number of years, and it was a learning experience for me, but it was also a profound personal experience for me. And I one of the strongest people in terms of intellect, living principled life that I have met, and I miss her a lot.
I loved having Rosalie as a friend. She was such an amazing person and was dedicated to improving assisted living, and we worked together on a committee on that. I miss her dearly.
Rosalie was our neighbor, and she was the first person who welcomed us to Horizon House. While we were moving in, while the furniture was coming and going, here comes this little woman, and she was a little with her walker, pushing her way through the moving people, and said, "Welcome to Horizon House." And that's just the beginning. It was just wonderful to be her neighbor.
For a small person, she was made out of steel. And if anybody's dealt with her in any of the contexts that have been identified here, I met her in a variety of ways, but the one has the deepest impression on me was the Camarada organization. And this was a musical group, some of you may know, and it was classical music usually, although she made a couple of exceptions for people like me, but she had a way of saying, this is not the place to come and practice. When you get ready, then you bring your piece here, but don't come here and practice. And that's the kind of toughness, the kind of steel I'm talking about. She could do it with great charm and great warmth. She didn't put anybody off, but it was a remarkable property to have that kind of strength.
Is there a cobalt blue there? I don't know if there's any left. Yes, okay. That's what I loved, was the blue in her home. Larry was the first person I was with helping as he passed. First memorial that I got to do here. And Rosalie was one of the last people that I got to help. And it was a real gift. So thank you for your stories. What I want to encourage from all of you, because I know there were more stories that people could have shared and didn't, is to continue telling the stories. That you have stories about these amazing people, and that's one of the ways people just keep going on. The ways people keep teaching us. The ways people are not only remembered, but we learn from, and we love, and we remember. And so keep telling the stories. And I will read us a Wendell Berry that's one of my favorites. The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in grace of the world, in the grace of the world, and I am free. And so as you go from here today, may you find comfort in the fond memories that you have of all of these people and the other friends that you've lost, since we lose at least 50 a year. May you have peace as you grieve, and may you truly continue to connect with each other as we all miss these friends and loved ones. Go in peace. But stay to listen to the postlude first, please.